Hello everyone. So good to have this opportunity to share with you again today. Hope you're doing well in this second time of lockdown. Just want to dip into Mark chapter 1. It's the start of Jesus's public ministry. In the chapter, he's baptized by John the Baptist. He has 40 days in the wilderness where he's tempted by Satan, and then he begins his public ministry. He calls his first disciples in Galilee, and then it says that they go to Capernaum together. In verses 21 to 28, Jesus teaches in the synagogue and drives out a demon of a man in there. And the news of what's going on, the news of his teaching and of this act of driving out the demons spreads like wildfire. And it says in verse 29, as soon as they left the synagogue, things then start to happen. He hears about Simon's mother-in-law being ill and he heals her. And then it says in verse 32, that evening after sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who were ill and demon-possessed. The whole town gathered at the door, and Jesus healed many who had various diseases. He also drove out many demons. It's all happening. It's all kicking off as everybody around Jesus, wanting him, needing him, clamoring for his attention and for his power. And then verse 35 says this, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, everyone is looking for you. Come on, Jesus, what are you doing? There's important stuff to be done. Let's get out there and get on with it. And they continue on into ministry together. But that moment, that time of engagement with his Father is a precious thing. As part of my preparation towards the accreditation process, I read a book by Eugene Peterson called The Pastor. And in it, in one section, he writes a bit about Herman Melville's book, Moby Dick. And this is what Eugene Peterson writes. There is a turbulent scene in which a whaleboat scuds across a frothing ocean in pursuit of the great white whale Moby Dick. The sailors are labouring fiercely, every muscle taut, all energy and attention concentrating on the task. The cosmic conflict between good and evil is joined. Chaotic sea and demonic sea monster versus the morally outraged man, Captain Ahab. In this boat, however, there is one man who does nothing. He doesn't hold an oar. He doesn't perspire. He doesn't shout. He is languid in the crash and the cursing. This man is the harpooner, quiet and poised, waiting. Then Peterson quotes this line from the book. To ensure the greatest efficiency in the dart, the harpooners of this world must start to their feet out of idleness and not out of toil. Peterson continues, if the harpooner is exhausted, having abandoned his assignment and become an oarsman, he will not be ready and accurate when it is time to throw his javelin. Is it not then a strategic necessity that sometimes we need to ally ourselves with the quiet, poised harpooners and not leap frenzied to the oars? The harpooner continues to serve me well for cultivating quietness and attentiveness before God. I find that such a helpful picture, the image of this chaos and madness going on all around and the busyness, and this one individual focused, quiet. And it reminds me of my own call to be quiet before God, and all of us as followers of Jesus, to be quiet, to take time for quietness and attentiveness to God. Jesus in John 5:19 said, very truly I tell you, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can only do what he sees his Father doing. And so Jesus knew how important it was to be quiet and attentive, to set time apart to spend in the presence of God. There's an Abraham Lincoln quote where he said this: "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." It's a great picture, isn't it? And we need to take time in these days to sharpen our axes. And we need to take time, if we have more time, for those at the moment who have more time than they would normally have because of the lockdown, set time aside to sharpen your axe. But particularly those who have less time in these days, those who are perhaps even busier because of what's going on around us, need to set time aside to sharpen axes. Because we can get dulled by constant busyness, and we need to take that time. In Luke 5:15 says of Jesus, "The news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and be healed of their illnesses. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." Is that picture again of the busyness and the crowds and lots to be done, much to be finished, much work needed, but Jesus withdraws to lonely places to sharpen his axe. So can I encourage you in these days to take time to withdraw from the busyness and the chaos of all that we see in the world around us, and to take time to sharpen your axe, to be quiet and poised like the harpooner, to be quiet and attentive like Jesus. I find it's just a helpful reminder. Following this is going to be a couple of more of the Michael W. Smith videos. I've been using them personally quite a bit, and they have some really helpful passages that he reads, but also there's plenty of space there to think and ponder and pray and to just come before God. So just use these couple of videos. They're not long. I think they're 8 minutes altogether between the two of them. But just listen to the words and take time in the spaces as you look at the image and listen to the images and listen to the music, just to pray and engage with God. And to just reaffirm to him that desire to have time in his presence, to allow him to sharpen us and prepare us for all that is to come. Lord, as we do that, as we come into your presence and spend time with you, would you meet with us and do that work in us that only happens as we sit in your presence, as we are quiet and attentive. Lord, just help us to find those opportunities in the quietness and in the busyness to sit in your presence and allow you to work in our hearts and our lives. Amen.